has lot of gaps. And if I look at my own community of academics, the academia is not very forthcoming to tell what is the problem. So in 2010, I wrote one article that was technical education on crossroads. That was again published on one Edu Leaders, was a magazine which was coming out from Gurgaon, I think. So I wrote first article there. Subsequently, I served as a Vice Chancellor at Gorakhpur from 13 to 17, so I could not get time. But after coming back from Gorakhpur as a professor in my parent university, I started writing aggressively. And this is my fourth compilation like this. The first compilation, when I approached some publisher, nobody was ready to publish such opinions. Even the press is also skeptical about coming forward in a pointed manner. So I looked for the self-publishing opportunities, and I don't mind in publishing on my own because that's one of the easiest things which I could do, and having a reasonable understanding of using computer and processing, so I could do it. So like this, I have 3 more volumes which are again compilations. So the purpose is not to criticize anyone, purpose is not to hurt anyone or anybody's sentiment. The purpose is the right thing should be spoken and right thing should be written. I am pretty sure that everybody may not like it, but there will be some readers who will be definitely having a space in their mind for such thinking. And frankly speaking, everybody thinks like that. Because when it comes to education and health, nobody wants to compromise. Education is a subject, every parent wants to give the best quality of education. But when you ask them to speak about the lapses in open, they have a lot of reservations. They will have a lot of biases. So we need a community which should tell the truth, which should tell frankly that this is the situation, and if somebody wants to conceptualize it, somebody wants to practice it, that's fine. Otherwise also it's not my loss in any case. Whatever I have written, this was all in a public domain. After coming to this Uttarakhand state as a Vice Chancellor of Technical University, it was over a period of 2 years, and a lot of articles were pending, so I thought let me compile them, put them in a form of book, and I am very happy that Sanjeev Saab has reviewed the book, and he has also appreciated some of the topics which I have taken, and the topics are wide ranging. These topics have been contemporary at the time when they were written, and maybe that today they are not. Somebody may have a perception that what is the point of talking on that particular issue now, but there is a sense behind every topic, every article, every opinion which I have written. So that's all how I started this process. But now I'm not into technical book writing because I don't get time. But I am still writing my own blogs. And recently, day before yesterday, also I have written on Times of India. So like this, I am in the process of sharing my views without having any kind of bias. Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, your essay, especially on counterbalancing empathy to school education, paper leakage, AI, literally focus on school as a stepping stone for the next ladder of higher education institutions. So, but in context to that, because when I was reading your essay, so side by side I was on Google search also looking at what the status is right now. So I came across this statement that the dropout rate, even though it's decreasing, first earlier I think in 2020 it was 20.2 earlier, and in 2021-22 it's 12.6%. But what are your views on how do we decrease them? Because a school's being the ladder where one starts to get into this. So what are your views regarding that?
See, school education is something which needs to be addressed very carefully. And if you look at the things around, when we talk of the education, we only look at the terminal point, and the terminal point happens to be higher education. Now, if something is wrong at some stage, everybody says that the kids are not employable. But who has made them not employable? And are we really serious about their employability? Nobody is serious about their employability. Everybody wants to pick up the stuff as per their requirements. Everybody says that there is a lot of skill gap. I don't find any skill gap because whatever is being taught, they are well versed with it. You will get first rank holder, second rank holder, third rank holder from the stuff which is being taught to them in the schools and colleges and universities. It means whatever has been expected from them, they have performed very well. The industry which says that the kids are not employable, the fault lies on the industry because they don't want to invest on their trainings. In the kind of situation which we have where the gig economy is flourishing and the gig workers is replacing the older concept of having the long-term engagements. Now we don't have the industries which are interested in hiring somebody for a very long time. And kids are also not interested in continuing with any organization for a very long because they keep on hopping from one place to the other place. This all eventually culminates into the their credentials being proven to be very poor, which is not true. And the school education which we have, now the focus of the parents is also shifted. Now every parent wants that their kids should enter into IIT. Those into medicine, biology side, they will be wishing them to enter into one of the best of the medical colleges. So a lot of rush is there. Because India is having a lot of young population. As a result of it, the opportunity is being lesser and there is a lot of pressure. And the parents are not serious about the school education. You will not find many parents who really want their kids to learn social sciences. They are not interested in learning of the languages. They are not interested in learning the environmental science. They are not interested in learning any other subject except mathematics, physics, chemistry, or physics, chemistry and biology. And similarly in commerce also, you will have certain select subjects. Now because of that, what is happening, the focus of the parents is different. Eventually the choices of the students change, and finally the teachers also have to offer what is being liked by the students. They will be offering the same things. Then we say that the schools are not performing well, and especially the public schools, the government schools, they are under serious challenge. Now there is a complete parallel education system. One is the school education system, which is formal. Another is the coaching system. Now you have the coaching establishments offering the tutoring to the kids, starting from maybe say KG level also. There could be some special or some centers where the kids are being taught there. So look at the kind of parallel education system which we have evolved. Now under these circumstances, when we have two parallels moving ahead and the competition being made like anything, the coaching establishments are flourishing, the coaching industry is flourishing, so the kids are bound to lose their focus. The dropout rates, they are there because eventually they feel that there is no purpose of continuing with this education. And today, if you look at the things around you, look at the employment of opportunities, it doesn't matter because everybody is interested in opting for a job related to the IT sector. Even a normal intermediate student is also competent to handle some particular language. He will learn some skills, some coding skills will be there with him or her, and he or she will be getting good kind of job and good package will be there. So the purpose of education itself is shifted now. We are not allowing our kids to learn for the sake of their satisfaction and seeking some knowledge. The education is meant only for fetching a job and to make money out of whatever degree or whatever qualifications or whatever skills or whatever knowledge you have. That's a byproduct that has been there all the times, but it should not be the primary objective of the education.
Very aptly said, sir, because we feel in our literature classes also, I mean it's funny, but most of the students are always of the opinion that they chose BA English Honours because one, they thought it's a backup because they'll study for UPSC, or they will be, their parents force them to do graduation to kar lo, phir aage dekhi jayegi. And it is so disheartening as a teacher that most of the students, as you said, they are falling away from the literary source. This consumerism that sir you talk about, you've written in your essay also, in deconstructing higher education expansion, and I would like to read from that, that you write, there is a significant influence of consumerism and marketing creeping into the higher education system, although it depends upon the discipline, region and nature of the institution. with respect to this, sir, there is a inequality or disparity in how rural colleges, when they teach, and how in urban areas we have the teachers and the students and everything. So how do we tackle any ideas on that?
You see, the issues, the subject which we have picked up, the lines which we have picked up, that pertains to the consumerism coming into the education. Now see, now today we have the higher education, school education, everything into two verticals. One is the government sector or the public sector, which is bound to do something, so they are doing it. And the majority of it has shifted to the private sector. If you look into the total, if you look into the higher education specifically, today we have more than 1100 universities, out of which 470 or something like that would be the government universities, and nearly equal number would be the private universities, and the rest would be the deemed universities or independent institutions. Now, under these circumstances, when your 50% of the institutions are in a self-finance mode, they have to earn their own bread and butter. So the cost of hiring, the infrastructure creation, its maintenance and sustaining it, all is going to need money. It's not the taxpayers' money which is going to those private institutions or self-finance institutions. What they would be doing eventually, they will be trying to maximize their returns. It all is, you don't call it as an industry, education is still not an industry. But the way it is being run, it's more than like an industry. You do all kind of, say, unfair practices to ensure that you have the maximum footfall on your campuses. Because the numbers matter to you. You need more, say, as many numbers as you can. See, today there are a lot of institutions which are admitting more than many thousands of students in first year. That's very surprising. Those who are associated with the higher education, they might be knowing that there are many institutions which will be admitting 5,000 students, 6,000 students in one stream of B.Tech Computer Science alone in one academic session. You can see what's going to be the number. It's a usual class size happens to be 60. Say 60 is a sufficient number where a teacher can pay attention, although it's a larger class size. If I recall, say 33 years back when I started my journey as a lecturer, say the class size used to be only 30 and nobody ever thought of having the class size more than 30. Then it became 60. Why it became 60? Because it was a new system was evolving. Now that new system of the private sector higher education has to sustain. So they will be trying to accommodate as many numbers in a room as possible. So the regulators also compromised and they made it 60. Then it came to student-teacher ratio. Initially it used to be 1:10. I am talking of the technical education. By and large, similar is the situation with other sectors also. Subsequently, it was raised to 1:15. So just increasing from 1:10, where 10 students, 1 teacher, making it 15 students, 1 teacher. You can see what is the total requirement of the teachers. It will be getting reduced substantially. Subsequently, it became 1:20. So the class remains the same. The purpose remains the same. Everybody is talking about the quality of education, but teacher to student connect, that's made to decline. 1:10, better connect would be there, it's very obvious. 1:15, slight dilution. 1:20, reasonably large dilution. So we are not serious about the quality of education. When we look around us, we want the systems to be the institutions to be unshackled. They do not want to remain regulated. They want all kind of independence. The sole purpose, at the face it is the education, but at the back, somewhere there is a maximization of the return or maximization of the revenue. That's something very alarming. And even now it's becoming much more alarming in the government sector also, because we are also trying to create some systems on a self-finance basis, where the institutions are asked to generate revenue to sustain themselves. The education is one particular sector. I may be wrong, somebody may disagree with me, but I can say it with confidence that the education is the sector which should be absolutely funded by the government. You cannot expect any institution to do justice while generating revenue for sustaining itself and running the show. That's not possible. And the teachers which we have, they are one of the most dejected entities. You will find teachers being paid very badly. I'll not take out the figures because I have a lot of information about that, but the figures are not at all acceptable. They are not at all respectable. How can you expect somebody who is not having sufficient compensation and he will be doing justice? That will not happen in any case. See, if you have a contractual faculty member serving for a reasonably long period of time, so biologically his or her age will be increasing. So he or she will be creating a lot of liabilities. The compensations do not change. The career progression is not there. So eventually what will happen? It will all get reflected into the quality of the deliveries in the classroom. One is never satisfied in the classroom. That's happening in one particular vertical, and it's also happening it has started happening in the other vertical also, which used to be the public funded. If you look into the total expenditure, which your Kothari Commission report said in 1960s, it should be 6% of GDP. Even today also we do not have it. Even after so many decades, this figure is not reachable because of XYZ reasons, whatever it may be. I feel that if the government starts spending money on education, the amount of return would be so large, and the quality of stuff and the quality of human resource which will be generating, the 6% of GDP can be taken, it will be returned in no time.
I think that throws light, sir, on the casual teacher, approach culture that you wrote about. So there is a cultural impact also of education. In this, there was this essay where you wrote about the not losing the demographic dividend, right? So if you could read that out, it's on page 27. I was with the bravery of, especially kind of position that you hold, and coming out so openly about it. So page 27.
It says, but the percolation of any thinking that seeds discrimination among young students for the regions beyond their control may culminate in the vitiation of the social harmony of the multicultural, multi-religious India, that is, bouquet of diversities. When innocent children do not have the distinction among them and consider each other similar, then why do older members of society try to strip off their innocence by several impositions? So this, please forward your question. So this particular opinion was written at the time when there was a lot of controversy happening in the Karnataka state about wearing of hijab. So it was at that point of time, and the purpose of writing this is not to hurt anybody or to pass any sermon for anyone, but if you try to analyze the situation honestly, when most of us are family persons, so when the kid goes to school, there is no discrimination. Starting from kindergarten to primary to secondary, senior secondary, there is no difference. They don't know what is your title, which religion you are from. They are all good friends. We do not have anything to they don't have anything to discriminate. But we as older persons from the older generation, we vitiate their minds. We tell them that this is something which you have to do and this is something which you need not to do. So what we are doing, we are taking away their innocence. The innocence should be maintained at any cost. We as part of the older generation or say at a higher age do not have that right to strip off somebody with the innocence. Because the way they have been innocently handling each other, that should be allowed. We should not impose anything. Let them grow naturally, and say if we start practicing it somehow after the secondary level of schooling, the things should change automatically. We should withdraw ourselves, let them grow on their own. See, you will have a lot of caste discrimination, you will have a lot of regional discrimination. There is a chapter there is an essay on caste discrimination also. It's quite surprising that IIT Bombay came up with a beautiful idea of teaching a subject on the caste. What does it mean? It means we have become so insensitive that we need to, we are not allowing them to even respect each other as a human being. And that's why we have to teach a subject on caste. It's a compulsory subject which has been introduced in IIT Bombay because of a lot of caste discriminations happening. So these are all pointers. So we should accept the challenge and we should try to reform it. We should somehow get disengaged from this process and let them grow on their own. I can tell you that in one of the premier technical institutions of the country, which is one of the older institutions established in its case of one of the IITs. When I saw their say arrangement in the hostels, it was such a beautiful arrangement. One student will be from one particular category, and it is compulsory for the rest of the roommate to be from some other category. It's compulsory, whether you like it or you don't like it. In first year, they will maintain it like that. After that, they will be giving you single-seater rooms. So when it's a double-seater room, at least there is one partner from some other community. So lot of cultural exchanges would be there, lot of mutual respect would be automatically coming up. Quite likely there would be some individuals who have been polluted by their society or by their parents to a larger extent. They may not accept this change, but this such kind of intermingling, such kind of forceful acceptance has to be done.
So, and in fact, it will, pick up a lot of questions on how marginalization is happening or how communities are being sidelined. So that was something that I really was, I really wanted to plot on if I may. So another pertinent glaring question you raised is on the mass exodus of students, right? How they are going about. So do you think that it has more to do, a thought crept in my mind that does it have to do more with achievement that a student feels that I have to go abroad, after graduation, I am going to the US or UK. Is that a mindset which has been?
No, see, the challenge, if you analyze the situation, anybody who is completing graduation within our country, he or she, in most of the cases, if the family is affluent one and they can afford it, they will be interested in sending their wards outside. Why is it so? We also have the best of the institutions. See, we cannot compete. We cannot make our institutions to compete with the other institutions across the globe, because the kind of liabilities which our institutions are catering, that's not being catered by any institution across the world. You will not have the 50% of the seats reserved for any particular category in any of the universities across the world. This is only happening in India. So we should appreciate it. The inclusivity which we have, the social considerations which we have, the socio-economic diversity which is being respected by us, that should be something, it should create a sense of pride in us. Then why do the kids are interested in taking up PG education outside? Earlier it used to be, they used to go only for the doctoral studies, because our universities, our higher education system was not competent enough to offer them the good research supervision. Subsequently, what happened? This has come down to one step, and now for PG also students are going out. That number is quite large, and it is said that it will be many billion transfer of money from India to outside. In this year 2024, 1.8 million students will be going out. Now see, subsequently, what has happened now, I visited one of the institution in Punjab, and there I came across the situation that the parents are ready to send their ward outside, maybe to Canada, even after class 8. They will sell off a piece of land, and they don't have any trust in our own system. They don't have any faith in our own society, and they will be sending their wards even in immediately after class 8, because they know that isko bahar to jana hi hai, to abhi bhej dete hain. He will get adjusted in the new conditions. So these kind of changes which are happening, this exodus, that's a point of concern, and we as a part of the academia and everybody as a part of society should start respecting our own institutions, feel concerned about their state of affairs, and if this discussion is around, I am pretty confident that whatsoever may be the kind of governance, everybody is interested in the well-being of their own younger generations. Nobody will ever accept the sacrificing the interest of the young generation. So we should start discussing and deliberating on these issues.
So, but isn't it a case of lack of supply also from the part of the education system? And you refer to that also, the lacuna that is there, that maybe we do not have enough colleges or universities to
see, those who are going out, they are not the ones who are deprived of the opportunity in the country. Because it requires a lot of money. That's one thing. Except in some of the sectors where we may not have the sufficient number of seats, but at least we have the seats for those who are interested in studying inside the country. You can take example of Ukraine. So a lot of students have gone for MBBS outside because the cost of education is very less there. Our cost of MBBS education is quite high. So the deterrent is the cost of education. Even those parents who wanted their kids to take up MBBS inside the country, they are also sending their wards outside because it's quite cheap there. So why can't we need to think on that particular issue. If the cost of education is something which is forcing them to go outside, that should be brought down. That should be brought down. Because eventually it's our revenue, it's loss of the money which country is facing, it's loss of the talent, and rarely anybody will come back in such circumstances, and we lose the competent minds.
We also lose our students because of, sir, as in one of the essays you write, and I quote you, the challenge lies in its execution with integrity. This you talk about education. Do you think that because of, again, of the casual teacher culture and
of course, that is there. That's there. It's all culmination of lot many things. See, I can take example. I'll not take the name of any institution, but one of the student who completes the graduation from the best of the institution in the country, he or she is not interested in continuing in the same institution. Maybe that's one of the best institution of the country for postgraduate education. Because by the time one completes the graduation, he or she is in know of everything. Then they will understand, and they will never have the confidence and trust that the same set of teachers and same set of infrastructure, same set of institution will be in a position to do justice with them in PG education. So they migrate out. So the quality, this is in respect to the best of the institutions. The usual institutions, the general institutions, means B grade and C grade institutions, where a lot of ad hocism is there in the teaching human resource. So that ad hocism is eventually affecting their minds, and they will never suggest anyone, any of their colleagues or any of their junior friends to come back to the same setup. If their families can afford, they go out.
So also, what are your views on the National Education Policy 2020? Since it has tried to do away with a lot of grey areas which were there earlier in our education system.
See, the National Education Policy 2020 is a beautiful document if you read it. But when it comes to execution, the interpretation of everybody is different. For me, this National Education Policy 2020 has brought in only one change. And the change is that if you now want to make any experiment, nobody is going to question you. That's all. There is no other change. Those institutions who have been faring well, they have been practicing lot many things there. A student of BTech from a particular engineering stream was made to study psychology, was made to study some social sciences subject in many institutions. But now, if some state institution starts doing it, lot of fingers will be raised. Say, आप engineering वाले को ये क्यों पढ़ा रहे हैं? What is the purpose of teaching it? So इसमें अब नई जो हमारी राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति है 2020 की, with this now there is no challenge, nobody questions, because it has facilitated all kind of experiment, and it has brought in all those best practices in one document. But when it comes to the execution, you have to be very careful, because the particular program should not lose its shield. The very purpose of a particular degree should not get lost, because the multidisciplinarity which we talk of, multidisciplinarity is good for the overall development. But if you want a candidate to be a mechanical engineer, maybe a civil engineer, he or she should be allowed to go as a mechanical engineer or civil engineer. The multidisciplinary subjects can be brought in so as to make him or her a holistic individual, holistic professional. But the basic purpose of the degree should not get lost. That's the care which needs to be taken in this implementation of the NEP 2020. And a lot of disorderliness is there all around in the education. Even in the primary education sector, secondary education sector, higher education sector, everybody is interpreting it in a different way. If you interpret it word by word and go by the literal meaning, it will be very difficult, and it will be creating a lot of chaos. One has to, those who are part of the academia, they have to understand the philosophy, and accordingly you have to transform your setup, and overnight the transformations cannot be expected. It will take its own time, because the education is a sector which needs to be made consistent. The consistency in the education is the first and foremost requirement for having a safe and secure future. If we keep on doing all kind of experiment so frequently, we are going to eventually damage our own young generations, because they are not, they become directionless. They are not sure that what will be the situation for them by the time they roll out.
So, sir, your essays also inclusively discuss the role of AI, right? And so, how do we maintain a balance, as you write in one of the essays, between requiring support and becoming parasitic? And with this reference, I would like to mention from page number 195, where again you write that AI has become a spoon feeding tool, right? So Sir writes, such spoon feeding by artificially intelligent systems is enfeebling metacognition and promotes a lackadaisical attitude in students in the education process. A cue can be drawn from how a toddler learns to stand, walk, run, jump, with simulation from the community around them. Support is required, but there is a thin line between someone requiring support and someone becoming parasitic. And this again brought to my mind, especially in literature. Students are using a lot of chat GPT for assignments and for their dissertations. And now we have to find new tools so that they are not, we have to, looking for new tools, how to judge whether it has been plagiarized or not. And it is so disheartening that even for letter writing, sir, the students, and it's very shameful also as a teacher, like when I see that they don't even know how to write a basic formal letter. And all they are based on Google search कर लिया कि how to write a formal letter. एक format आ जाता है, they copy paste. So how to remove students from this crutch that they've been holding on?
See, this is going to be a much more worse in days to come, because this artificial intelligence is going to come in every walk of every domain. In every moment will be governed by this AI, because the technology is fast pervading and it will enter into every space. So if somebody perceives that you will be in a position to stop it, nobody will be in a position to stop it. The way the transparency which has come because of the excessive use of the mobile phone, the cheapest data available in the country, it has itself brought in the transparency. It's not the governance has only been facilitated. The technology has brought the change. Similarly, this AI will also bring the change. Now it's a challenge for the teachers. The teachers have to devise their subjects, their questions, whatever assignments you give, and they have to be devised in such a way that the ChatGPT also is not in a position to find solution to those problems. The ChatGPT, if you try to understand the philosophy, what is there, it's basically the training of the tool. The data set which is available, that will only be getting used for training. So it's not something that it's doing some miracle. It's there is a tool which is being trained through exhaustive data which is available on the net. Now if you see everybody he or she who uses the mobile with the internet, is your data is getting transmitted to some other location, and there is somebody across the world on web who is now your master. If somebody tries to misuse that particular data and misuse your information, it can create havoc. So if you have a perception that the AI assistance can be somehow avoided, that's not possible. Better to have the open book examination, better to give them all kind of challenges which are real life challenges, so that even if they want to solve the problem, they will have to comprehensively apply the knowledge which they have. They will never be in a position to get the solution from such kind of generative tools. ChatGPT is something which became very popular, and it's still very popular, and they are also evolving very fast. Now their video training is also there. You can generate your videos also. You can generate your presentations also. So as responsible persons, we have to see that how we can overcome this particular challenge. So that can be done, and everybody will be appreciating that it's most difficult to pass in the open book exam.
Yes.
Because the open book examinations are the one where the teacher has to put in a lot of effort. That's something which teachers do not want to do. But when it comes to the clearing that examination and solving the problems, it's very difficult for the students. Unless until they are not sound at the back, they cannot solve it. So we'll have to change our style of operation, because these technological interventions are bound to be there. They have to, they will be continuing, and we have to live with them. We have to find out our own ways.
Right. rightly said, sir. In fact, in our university also, in our departments, our HOD ma'am came up to the solution, because sometimes if you're sending the question paper, so the questions are very direct, right? So, and we do not know, I mean, we check the students, but sometimes if somebody is having their phones or whatever, so they copy paste. It's like reading from a Wikipedia page, the answer. So what ma'am said was that let's have their Viva also based on their answer sheets. So, so we give half of the marks for Viva and half for what they have written. So we question them what they have written exactly on that. That you have written this, what do you mean by this line? So the students who have copied, their faces are flushed out. Okay, we can't answer this question. So then that was the way to sift out those students. So that was one thing. But again, there is this disparity also in digital education that also you referred to in one of the essays. But again, as you said rightly, it's an overpowering effect. Digitalization cannot be removed right now in the present circumstances. So one of the many statements you make on ethical issues in research publications. Coming to that, so how can the supervisors maintain the standards, especially when there is overburdening on them? Because again, as professors, you all have more work on your, it's administrative work also, it's academic work also. So you make a very clear statement that it is not the responsibility of the PhD research scholar, but the supervisor who has to go through it.
Of course.
So how do you think, just for the supervisor, this?
The PhD supervision, that's at doctoral level, even postgraduate level thesis supervision is there. So what perception teachers have now, because our evaluation mechanism for the teaching fraternity has changed, it's based on your academic performance indicators. And there the numbers are mattering now. The numbers matter means you should have, somebody will ask you after 5 years, 10 years down the line, how many postgraduate students you have supervised, how many doctoral students you have supervised. That's going to be part of your credentials and you are being weighed based on that. As a result of that, every teacher is trying to pick up as many students as they can. There are certain limitations, but they will be going with the highest of the permissible value. If a professor is allowed to supervise 8 PhD scholars at a time, he will always be interested in continuing with those 8. And 8 research scholars with you can yourself imagine that when a particular research scholar will be getting his or her turn, because a person will not be sitting all the time for one particular candidate. Say 8th day, even if you spare half an hour or say 1 hour, it will be coming on 8th day. As a professor, you will have so many responsibilities. So you have to sensitize your students. The publishing papers, that itself is a very challenging thing. And because we have started counting them for the career progression of someone, that has worsened the situation. And that's the reason why everybody is interested in publishing as many number of papers. And in the course of publishing, they will be, because you don't have that much of time. If you look into the total time required for writing a paper and getting it published, it's a huge time. The timeline, if you look into the total span in which an individual has published those many papers and try to distribute in terms of the time, you will find that the numbers are not matching. It means someone else is doing for you and your name is only being carried in that paper. And especially in the research establishments, there is a culture, if somebody is a director, his name has to appear in every paper. So that's something, that's a very bad practice. As a part of the academy, I have never accepted it, because if my contribution is not there, why should my name appear in any publication? So that's again a kind of cheating which we are doing. So these things are actually telling the integrity which you have as a supervisor or as a teacher. The students are picking up all those pointers and they also start doing the same thing. You will find, you might have, everybody might be aware of that there have been many professors, even up to the level of vice chancellors, who have been stripped off from their jobs because of the cheating which they have done at some point of time in their career. They copied somebody's work. Now we have the technology available, so we can very well map it. So we have certain tools available. Even those tools are also not in a position to decipher the copying, because what we do, we change the positioning of words, and then it will be coming out of that net also. But actually, it is a copied thing. So we have to sensitize our student community, and we have to be responsible ourselves. And let's not work for only getting the numbers. let's do it for the betterment of the student community, and that can only be done by hammering the issue again and again. Now, regulations will never be in a position to regulate it. The UGC has come out with a stringent regulatory framework for handling this particular issue of copying, but I don't think that it's possible, because the tools which we are using, they are giving you fair report, and as per the tools there is no copying, because it's a paraphrasing which is mattering, and they will put a limit that 3 words being copied in a set. That will only be picked up, and we will be changing the placing, and some active passive will only make the difference. So that's how they do. So we have to be honest, and there is I cannot tell you anything offhand which can resolve this issue.
So that actually degrades the level of research also, then that means.
Of course it will, and it is happening.
We can open up also.
Please.
Yes.
1 or 2 questions from you, and then we have a very lighted audience.
Just I would like to just close with, so I was going through your YouTube profile, and how I perceived you in the past 40 minutes or so is aptly what you have written there, that I'd rather be honest than impressive, and that was something that as a beginner in this field I would emulate all through my life. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sachin, you pass the mic around now for any questions. Dr. Sanjay, Chancellor, Sanjeev Chopra, eyes and नहीं आप तो एक्चुअली
आप बैठिए ना मैं दूसरे
You have to address this also. This is also your job.
Namaskar to all of you. It's very nice whatever you see Onkar Singh said, because most of the things I agree with all of these things. First is that I personally feel that education is the one which is the fundamental needs of each and everybody. But considering the circumstance and the scenario in our country, the education is working on the principle of only business. And not only the business and the principle is the 1 2 ka 4, 4 2 ka 1. Where if we want to earn the 1 rupee, we are earning 4 rupees. Where we are investing 4 rupees, and then one can understand what is the discrepancy. And in city, I am not naming, as you said very rightly, the money which is being earned from the institutions or the educational institution, that is being transferred or being used for the other purposes, which you can see, and they are the proof in the city as well. You have rightly said that if there is the 6,000 students in one of the institute, one can understand what will be the earning and what will be the expenses, where you have rightly said the one word about the contract teacher. So one can understand, this is the one thing which you said. The research, I am telling you, the research has become just like the copy-paste principle card, copy and paste. And everybody is so smart in our country that they can make any sentence from active to passive and passive to active. And nowadays, even you can change the name of all these things. This is very much easier also. And as I have been the professor head also, the institution, especially the private institution, they are forcing you to guide as many as students, not for your purpose, but for their purpose. Say that if the 1 PG students of the MS earns make the institution 1 crore rupees, and if because of little bit manipulation, if I can have the 2 students or 3 students, then what? So it comes in the crores also. The promotion is, of course, you need the apprehension, so we write the papers 2, 3, 4, 5, as many as said, and the director, because of the director, so I have to put the name of the director. Advocate director. Thank you very much. It's very elaborate, and and most of the issues are very pertinent to all these things which should not happen. I wish the education, at least education, health, they should be the the coaching or privatization, anyway it can be done. If not for the higher education, at least for the primary education, that we should all have only the one kind of the education, only for the primary education. Thank you very much.
सर 2-3 मिनट दूंगा। जब मैं वो कैफे यहाँ अटेंड कर रहा था, कुछ समय बाद मैं नहीं अटेंड कर पाया। जब मैंने आपका बायोडाटा पढ़ना शुरू किया विकिपीडिया पे, तो वो थर्मोडायनेमिक्स मेरे को यहाँ खींच के लिया और आपका मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग। तो सर मैं अपना थोड़ा सा इंट्रोडक्शन देना चाहूँगा। मैं तो गोल्डन पीरियड में पैदा हुआ 1955, और मेरे फादर ने कहा बस पढ़ते जाओ, नौकरी की चिंता नहीं है। सो आई ज्वाइन जियोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट इन 1973। My brother was doing physics. He was a professor of physics. He guided me. मैंने BSc किया 3 साल का, MSc 3 साल का होता था, उसमें अप्लाइड जियोलॉजी। उसके बाद गवर्नमेंट ने MPhil शुरू कर दिया और कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंट हमारे पे किए गए। ग्रेड सिस्टम भी उसी वक्त आया 1979 में। उसमें भी आपको एक मैथमेटिकल में आपको बताऊंगा। उसके बाद PhD किया। अब गवर्नमेंट ने MPhil हटा दिया, तो जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम 10+2 और ये सब हुआ, आप भी जानते हैं कि हमारा सिलेबस जो हमारा स्टूडेंट आज पढ़ रहा है, अगर मैंने तो कंप्यूटर साइंस एज ए हॉबी पढ़ा, आज मैं एक कंप्यूटर साइंस के स्टूडेंट से जाके पूछता हूँ, अगर एक कंप्यूटर में हमारा रैंडम जो मेमोरी है उसका मतलब अगर वो 8 बिट कंप्यूटर है, मैंने तो वहीं से स्टार्ट किया था, तब कंप्यूटर आए नहीं थे, और मेरा जो है टाइपराइटर पे ही हुआ था, कोई कट पेस्ट नहीं था, 10 बार मेरा ड्राफ्ट चेंज हुआ होगा। तो अभी क्या हो रहा है कि स्टूडेंट का नॉलेज जो है, आप देखें, बिल्कुल नहीं है। 40 रुपीज में पढ़ा, उसमें से 50% हाफ करवा दिया मेरे फादर ने, क्योंकि मेरे 4 ब्रदर्स 2 सिस्टर्स अंसार कॉलेज में। आज जो फीस लिया जा रहा है, आपने जैसे कहा, स्टूडेंट यूक्रेन पढ़ने जा रहा है, मैं टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में पढ़ रहा था, लेकिन वापस आके 5% भी इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ मेडिकल उसका क्लियर नहीं कर पा रहे। और मैंने एक वो पढ़ा, एक स्टूडेंट वहां से मेडिकल करके आया, अपनी दुकान चला रहा है। और दूसरा जो कंप्यूटर साइंस में हुआ, भेड़ चाल इतना बढ़ गया, एवरीवन वांट्स टू टेक कंप्यूटर साइंस, और उसके बाद कंप्यूटर साइंस पढ़ रहा है। अच्छा, जो मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग में पढ़ रहा है, उसने देखा अब जॉब तो मेरे को कंप्यूटर साइंस का ही करना है। मेरे ब्रदर की जो मेरी भतीजी है, उसने मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग किया, टाटा मोटर्स में शी वाज द फर्स्ट वुमन, ज्वाइन किया, लेकिन अभी जो काम कर रही है कुछ और ही कर रही है, MBA करके। तो जैसा सर अभी हमारा जो ये सब्जेक्ट्स है, कोर्स, ये जो साइंसेस है, फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, ये तो स्टूडेंट कर नहीं रहा है। अभी 12 साल 13 साल अगर किसी बच्चे को पढ़ने के लिए कह देंगे तो नहीं करेगा। मेरे को जॉब 13 साल करने के बाद मिला, तो मैं लेक्चरर भी रहा दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में 82 to 86, वहाँ मैंने पढ़ाया। फिर मैं रीडर भी अपॉइंट हुआ, और फिर मैं वाडिया इंस्टीट्यूट में पूरा इसमें सर्विस दिया। तो मैंने जैसे मैथमेटिक्स की बात करूँ, अगर आज मैं किसी स्टूडेंट से, अगर यहाँ MSc मैथमेटिक्स पूछ लूँ उससे कि व्हाट इज नॉर्मल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, वो डिफाइन नहीं कर पाएगा। हमारे टाइम पे जो ब्लैक बोर्ड टीचिंग हो रही थी, जो टीचर पढ़ा रहा है वो भी कट एंड पेस्ट कर रहा है, बड़े बड़े रिसर्च पेपर से लाके उस पे जो है PPT बना के जो है इधर दिखा दिया। लेकिन वो जो उसका जो हम क्वेश्चन जिस टाइप के हम पढ़ रहे थे, मैंने तो ऑक्सीजन बनाया होगा, आपने भी उस टाइम में जो पुराने लोग हैं, आपने जो है ऑक्सीजन हाइड्रोजन बनाया है 10th क्लास में, आज स्टूडेंट नहीं बना रहा है। हमारा सिलेबस शिफ्ट हो गया, आप उसको इलेक्ट्रॉन फंडामेंटल श्रोडिंगर वेव इक्वेशन ट्रांसफर करो तो BSc में, लेकिन उसको नॉलेज नहीं आया। तो सर मैं बस यही कहना चाहूंगा, एक वो कहना चाहूंगा, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में अभी एक स्टूडेंट यहाँ से जो बाहर जा रहे हैं, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट में नहीं, ग्रेजुएशन में भी जा रहे हैं, यहाँ एडमिशन करा दिया, रिलेटिव का ही है, माने नहीं, किसी ने कर दिया, नॉटिंघम यूनिवर्सिटी चले गए। तो मेरे को ये था कि कहीं मैं घूमने जा रहा था, तो वहीं जाके मिला बच्चे से, बच्चे स्ट्रेस में आ रहे हैं। ये बात कहीं और भी आई थी, जो बच्चे जा रहे हैं यहाँ से, पेरेंट तो ठीक है, पैसा थोड़ा बचा है, जमीन बेच दिया, लेकिन उसके बाद स्ट्रेस में आ जाते हैं। तो वहां जाके उसने मेरे को एक वो भेजा, कुछ इक्वेशन निकालना था, पाइथन पढ़ाया जा रहा है आजकल। तो मैंने तो बीच में अभी 10 साल से सोसाइटी वर्क कर रहा हूँ, तो मेरी वाइफ ने कहा नहीं पाइथन पढ़ो। मैंने पढ़ना शुरू किया, मैंने गूगल में उस क्वेश्चन को फीड किया, एक चाइनीज उसको $20 में बेच रहा है। बस मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा, उसको $20 में बेच रहा है, क्या कहेंगे आप? और SRM यूनिवर्सिटी में जाइएगा, 800 स्टूडेंट बैठा है कंप्यूटर साइंस करने के लिए। थैंक यू सर।
Good evening, very well articulated. I have only one question. It's about 3 decades since this +2 system has come into 1986, which means school passing out at the age of 18. Now my question is, do we need graduation in such large numbers? And is it possible to take the necessity of having a graduate for any Sarkari Naukri? Then maybe this whole problem that you have been emphasizing on higher education could get obliterated. And perhaps the focus on school education could be invigorated. Just a query. Dr.
Would you like to respond to some of these and then go to the next one?
My take on this is that to this class 12, what I perceive and you will also appreciate if you try to look at the things, it's only the concept building. The graduation is a level where we allow them to apply those concepts which have been taught. So whether it's a student of PCM or even for the arts also, it's a concept building and the principles are being taught at that level. So graduation could be, it will be difficult to get rid of the graduation because we will not be allowing them to apply that particular knowledge which is given to them up to the class 12 level. So in a way it may solve the problem, but it will come back to the class 12 level. So we have those numbers are very high.
The jobs in government are many jobs.
Yeah.
You don't need graduates.
Correct.
Usually you just need a certain degree of
Understanding.
intelligence. तो school level का काफी है.
I think from that perspective the change is already visible. You have most of the students are they are being underemployed in terms of the qualification. One may have PhD, one may have post-graduation, one may have graduation degree, but the kind of job which they are doing that does not require that capability. But they are doing it because their parents need to be satisfied and there is no opening.
सरकारी नौकरी के लिए graduate नहीं होते. अनिवार्य है. I would have done graduate.
Correct.
Mr. Kapoor, yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Onkar Singh. So my question is, ball lies in whose court to make the change? Who can be the change
Yeah,
agent?
ball lies in our court.
So the academic community,
Of course.
or the policy
Not only
makers.
academic community, but society also has to come in coherence.
No, I would like a more precise answer because when you say our, like you have identified a lot of issues. You're saying, and you have also pointed towards solutions. But why is it that let's say this question of 1 million or more than 1 million students going abroad, India losing a lot of foreign exchange. I mean, we are 75 years, independent. Why? I mean, I appreciate lots of good things that happened also, besides a lot of problems. But why can't we have created more institutes, or in terms of the budgets to be allocated? That is a decision to be taken by policy makers. Or in terms of, let's say, regulating the number of students in the universities, or even the fee structures. So, I would like to know more precisely who has to take the action.
No, see, the problems which we have, first of all, we have to identify the problem. If the problem is not known, you will never be in a position to cure it. And then you have to be forthcoming to solve the problem. Let there be any situation or circumstance. If there has been the containment of the expenditure on education, it has been the society has never reacted on that. Had the society been demanding, the expenditure of the education would have been increased to the desired level. Now you ask the universities to have that many number of students because you don't have other opportunities. And when it comes to the quality of the institutions, the initial set of institutions which came in maybe in 60s or 70s, we have never been even in a position to replicate those institutions. For example, if you look into the Banaras Hindu University, even after independence, we have never been in a position to create a university like Banaras Hindu University. Be it in terms of the infrastructure, be it in terms of the academic environment, be it in terms of the departments which we have. So our focus has been entirely changing, and we have been only trying to solve the emergency. We are only in the firefighting mode all the times. We are never looking at what is going to be the implication of this change which we are doing 10 years down the line. Because the education is a subject where change will be happening at least 10-15 years down the line. It will not be visible immediately. If we have, say for example, if you want everything to be taught in your vernacular language, Don't you think that the change and the challenges will be there after some point of time? Maybe today there is no challenge and it will be, you can create a hype out of it and it will be appearing very good. But the language proficiency, which is helping you in your survival and your getting fitted in other civilizations or other communities, that need to be ascertained. It could be good from up to one level, but it will not be good at all the times. And we have to be careful, and the society has to come forward and understand the problem. And if the parents do not want their wards to take up computer science, I don't think any ward will be going for computer science. Parents are also pushing them to earn as much of money as possible. They are ready to send their wards outside because it helps them in various ways. It helps them in maintaining their social prestige. It helps them in earning money also, and it helps them in having a better quality of life as well. So we should accept the challenges which we have in our system and our society, and then only the problem will be solved. And we have to solve it collectively. And the education system should not be made to buckle under any circumstances. The highest degree of integrity and its ideality should be ascertained by every individual. If your ward or if my ward is not competent of passing a particular level, I should not expect somebody to lower down the benchmark. That should not happen. And we have started doing so, and that's the reason why everybody wants to be graduate. Ravi Shankar Saab has said that let us get rid of the graduation degree. But the point is, why do we want everybody to be graduate? Because we don't have anything else to do. कुछ है नहीं उसके पहले करने के लिए. अभी जिस तरह का the kind of gig workers and gig economy which we have, इससे देखिए बहुत चेंज अपने आप आने लगेगा. 12वीं का लड़का, 10वीं का लड़का वो अपना काम करने लगता है. Please.
Good evening, everyone. So, sir, my question to you is, like, according to you, the accreditation of NAC, that is the National Assessment and Accreditation Agency. So, according to you, this NAC accreditation is granted to the private universities is something that is genuinely placed on the pedestal, or is it the power dynamics that they would achieve such marks?
No, see, all accreditation and rankings, they are all metric based. We have to understand it. See, the biggest thing is the public perception about the institution. Because you have asked about the NAC accreditation pointedly, if you might have read it sometimes back, the best institution of the country, which is having one of the best ranking across the globe, the accredited grade is lesser than some other institution. So, it doesn't get fitted into the public perception. Public perception says that this institution is good. It's not good because it is having a good grade. It's good because this kind of teaching which is there, that's good. And the kind of deliveries which have been there, that they are good. The performance of the students has been good. So the metric-based assessment is always having its own inherent defects. And now we want everything to be ranked, we want everything to be accredited, we want best of the performance indicators to be available with the institutions, and there is a lot of competition amongst the institution itself, which is again not good. The institutions are supposed to do a very pious job without having any kind of competition with any institution. The institutions are competing with each other, so the nefarious practices are bound to creep in. Nobody can stop it. Whenever you will be compromising with the ethical standard, the reason has to be there, and the reason is that we are competing with each other. So NAC accreditation, I don't have any problem in NAC accreditation, but the accreditation or the grade should not be the one which will be deciding everything. It's the student perception which will decide. I can tell you a story. One of the students came to me with his parent, and he named some institution. I told him that this institution has recently got this grade. The boy said spontaneously, I know, मुझे मालूम है कैसे मिलते हैं grade. So story is over. There is nothing to be explained further. What are you going to explain if the society is not accepting it as such?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you very much for highly enlightening and enriching dialogue. You know, you being one of the strong pillars of higher education now, I have a few questions in the form of, we want solutions. We all know the problems in the education system, in our systems. We want a solution from you. Now, firstly, the quality of education. You said the parents are now gaining, now losing faith in our education system. From 8th onwards, here's a new story. Here's a new story for me. 8th onwards, they are planning to send their children abroad. So, what are your suggestions for regaining that faith?
See, we'll have to work on, we'll have to focus on the quality of education honestly. It's not only through suggestion is that we have to focus back on the classroom teaching, and if we can improve the teaching quality in the classrooms, which has taken a back seat, the perception, the things will be changing on its own. And we don't have focus on the classroom teaching. And I am saying it with responsibility that we do not have much of focus on the classroom teaching. We do not have much of focus on the laboratory teaching. They are only, at most of the times in many institutions, it's only ritual. And they are only appearing in the examination for the sake of passing examination and getting the degree. And the society is accepting it. The parents are forcing their kids to take admission and don't go in the classes. Don't you think that the parents are not aware of the mischief which is being committed by their wards? They are all well aware of it. But they have a different value proposition. They will be engaging their child for some other purpose during that time. And they know that the education system is weak enough to permit them for the examination. And when they will be appearing in examination, they will be compulsorily doing all kind of unfair practices to clear those examinations and eventually get a degree.
So this is what my question and my request is, for you being one of the strong pillars of education.
So in whatever way I can do, I am already doing it. I am already doing it.
Give a presentation to the Chief Minister, at least in
Sir, whatever way I am, it's in my capacity to the extent I am already doing it. A lot of things we are doing. We are doing in our university.
But not me actually, because I have been supporting a skill university in Uttarakhand for last 2 years. I have given presentation to every secretary, the concerned secretary, not every concerned secretary, and to the Chief Minister also. But nobody is bothered. Now, I was advisor to the Government of India on skill development and entrepreneurship. And there I was given the task of conducting a study along with few sources of IIT Delhi and Delhi University. The subject was skill and employability, Indian perspective. The result time, it was 450-page study, conducted in 3 months, and that one-liner result was, India suffers not for employment, but employability.
That's true, that's the point that she is also making.
It was 2009-10, sir. I conducted that study 2009, and still, and I was CEO of a telecom company. I'm a telecom engineer, and then I myself used to conduct interviews for my engineers, being CEO, and I found that 20%, only 24% were found fit for the job.
Absolutely, I think those are issues that we
But that is also we have to. So how to you being the head of the technical institution?
We'll leave it to them. The next blog, next meeting, we
Yes.
ask you to think of this. Come
Thank-
on, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is the last formal question. After that, we can continue discussing over a topic.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev. Sir, in your whole talk, you summed it up in one word. We need integrity and honesty, which unfortunately has taken a tremendous beating over the last couple of decades. Even before the private medical colleges started, even in the government colleges, I can assure you, when I was working here in Noon Hospital, students from Jhansi and Gorakhpur in MBBS, mitral stenosis is one thing which a student is expected to know. क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है वैवा में सब जानते हैं. हमारा एक इंटर्न था डॉक्टर साहब, मैंने कहा यार वो जाके वो स्टूडेंट पेशेंट है उसको जाके ऑस्कल्टेट करो और आके मुझे बताओ. वो आया एंड दिस इज ही वाज अ स्टूडेंट फ्रॉम मेरठ मेडिकल कॉलेज, नॉट झांसी एंड गोरखपुर. दे केम लेटर, मेरठ वाज अर्लियर. सब कुछ खुरखुर हो रहा है, खुरखुर. Why did that happen? Because when we were students, if the professor said he's going to be in college at 9 o'clock, be sure he'll be there 5 to 9. If he was to be in the OPD at 9 o'clock, he would be there at 9 o'clock, and I've seen my professor lock up the doors of the registrars and assistant professors if they were not there in the seat at 9 o'clock. But when this student said khur, my chief residents and my lecturers who were giving us all the morals, वो 11 बजे आते थे और 1 बजे अच्छा पार्टनर चाय पियो मैं जा रहा हूँ मेरे पेशेंट्स हैं. In college time they were going and seeing private patients, so the moral degradation started there. And now the situation is, I can assure you, students who have 3 marks, 4 marks in anatomy and physiology, because they are in a private institution, the father can afford to pay. They have paid and they have passed. They have paid a couple of crores to get into radiology and surgery. I know that my son cannot and will not pass NEET, so I said, यार ये तो मेरे सिर पे है ही है, अभी पैसे क्या करने हैं, पैसे तो इसको पढ़ाओ. They have come back as Master of Surgery, MS करके वो आ गए. So somewhere society, me, my family, my children, everybody is at fault. And the basic lies, our moral fiber has been broken, shattered. Why should I pay 2 crore rupees to get my son a master's degree? I should tell him, यार, you're not capable, यार, तू करोड़ रुपया लेना, कुछ और काम कर ले, 5 दिन दुकान खोल ले. नहीं होता मैं. But why am I getting? Because I have earned the money that way. So that is where the problem lies, and we have failed to give the primary education to our people, which was promised in the constitution to the age of. We failed. So the fault lies with us, not you, with all of us.
BSc Statistics, Nottingham University, work
I think, okay friends, I think, all conversations which lead to more questions, all conversations which lead to more interest, all conversations which lead to many more questions, will lead to many more horizons, will lead to many more explorations. So please join me in thanking Dr. Onkar Singh. For a really splendid conversation. And I think that's the beauty of the whole thing. So we have with us today Mr. Onkar Singh. He's just joined Uttarakhand as the regional head of the UBI. So may I request him to thank Dr. Onkar Singh. And to Dr. Aditi Bist. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The pleasure was ours. And please join us for a cup of tea, coffee, and
कुलदीप दत्ता साहब बैठे हैं, हार्ट अटैक आ गया था, ब्लड क्लॉट. बस थोड़ा सा दवाई दिया, एंजियोग्राफी कर दी, ठीक हो गया. ऐसे डॉक्टर सही है.